The climax has come. On Friday, that same grinding turned into something more. It was the sound of falling, heavy, loud, and then there was silence. Annoying fool. I was sitting in the kitchen and drinking water to relieve hand tremors, and then I heard it. At first it's quiet, then it's louder. It was Arkady Semenovich's voice. He didn't scream. He whispered something, muffled, but with incredible intensity. The words came through the ceiling, as if through a layer of cotton wool. That's it. It's time to go home. Get back on your feet. Get up. G-E-T up. There was a deafening blow from which the pendants on my chandelier rang. And then there was silence. I couldn't take it anymore. I called the police. He said that the neighbor might have an accident. When the outfits arrived, I went out to the entrance. The door to apartment 55 was closed. The policeman knocked for a long time, then called a locksmith from the DZ. When the door opened, that familiar, nauseant smell hit the nose so hard that one of the officers got angry. I was standing behind and saw part of the hallway. The apartment was sealed. There were stuffed animals everywhere. Fox, hare, huge boar. But what was scarier, they were all in unnatural, almost human poses. The fox was leaning on a cane. The boar was sitting on a chair, bowing his head as if thinking, "There's no one." A voice came from the depths. "The apartment is empty." I couldn't resist and stepped forward over the threshold. In the living room, right in the middle of the room, there was a big stuffed brown bear. It was lying on its side, and a handle of some instrument was sticking out of its back. There was an old record player with a huge mouthpiece lying on the floor nearby. Apparently, he was the one who broadcasted that whisper. The headman of the house, who approached this time, spread his hands. Arkady Semenovich? He died just the day before yesterday, in the hospital. We thought you knew. I was shaken. I pointed my finger at the player. But I just heard his voice and sounds. The precinct has restarted the player. The same rustling voice was heard from the mouthpiece. Get back on your feet. Get up. Get up. And then a loud click, as if the power was turned off. I'm sick, I guess. The precinct officer shrugged. Old. I was already ready to believe that it was all a series of coincidences and my fantasy, until I looked at the stuffed bear. It was lying on its back, its glass eyes were fixed on the ceiling, but on the dusty floor around it, I saw fingerprints, wide, massive, similar to the footprints of bare human feet. They led from the bear to the exit, and on top of these traces, as if trying to erase them, there were neat traces of police boots. I slowly raised my head and looked at the chandelier in the neighbor's room. It was old crystal, and on its edges, right in the center, you could see a fresh, sticky print, bare footprint. It all started with the little things, with moving to a new apartment in a panel 9-story building. The apartment was wonderful, bright, with a view of the square. But there was one nuance, the neighbor from above. Not that he's making noise, just the opposite. The floor in his apartment was so quiet that it seemed that no one lived there. No steps, no rumble of furniture, no sound of the TV. Absolute silence. And that was the whole strangeness. I met him on the second day. I decided to introduce myself as a well-mannered person. The door on the 5th floor didn't open immediately. At first, the smell hit the cheek, heavy, sweet, like a mixture of old dust and medicines. and then it appeared in the opening, tall, stooped, with gray, too thick hair. His name was Arkady Semenovich. A new neighbor? His voice was deaf and rustling, like autumn leaves underfoot. Please don't knock on the batteries, and don't listen to the walls. They sometimes lie. He smiled. The smile was wrong, as if stretched over the face. I nodded embarrassedly and hurried back to my apartment. It all started that night. I heard the first sound deep after midnight. Not a rumble, no. It was a quiet, smooth grinding. It looks like someone is slowly dragging something heavy and soft on my ceiling. Once from wall to wall, pause, then back. I lay and listened, and my heart was pounding somewhere in my throat. At 3 o'clock in the morning, the grinding stopped. The next morning I met Arkady Semenovich in the elevator. He stood with his back to me, but I saw his face in the reflection on the polished doors. He was looking straight at me and whispering something. I tried not to pay attention, but I caught a scrap of the phrase, "Don't look up." In the evening, I called the house management, hinting at strange sounds. The old dispatcher sighed. "Ah, it's Arkady Semenovich's. He's a former taxidermist. He makes a stuffed animal. They say museum orders. You don't go to him. He doesn't like guests. Taxidermist, stuffed." Well, that explained the smell and perhaps the grinding. I've almost calmed down, almost, but the sounds changed. Now a quiet, barely audible knock was added to the grinding, uneven as if someone is tapping his knuckles on the drywall. The knock was always heard from one point, from the corner behind the cabinet. One day I couldn't stand it. I moved the heavy cabinet away. There was a crack on the wall, behind the wallpaper, quite a small one, and from it, weakly but clearly, smelled of the same sweetish smell of smoldering that hovered in the neighbor's apartment. The worst were the nights when it was quiet, absolutely quiet. I was lying and realized that I couldn't hear anything, not a single rustle from above. And then I had a paralyzing thought. What if he's not at home? What if he's standing behind my door? Or already inside? I couldn't stand one of those nights. I went to the front door and looked through the peephole. Darkness.